Maliki didn't, but the rest of the government liked it.
But he is the head of the government. Yeah. It's their country.
By the way, it is their country, but he's the head of the government, but he's the head of the government whose popularity is very much in question. And the election itself, you had a whole lot of people. Look, here's going to be the key, Tom. They're about to have regional elections. Let's see how they go. Let's see how the regional elections go. Pray God they'll go well for the sake of all of our sons that are there.
Let's move on to some domestic issues. Sure. The country's waking up this morning to the news that the federal government's about to move in on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are quasi-government agencies holding $5.3 trillion in mortgage debt. They're in serious trouble at the moment. They're in a free fall, in effect. The government will reorganize them. It appears that they're going to pump in some fresh capital on a quarterly basis. But shareholders will have their shares greatly diluted by this move. But the preferred shareholders, China and other foreign governments that have invested in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, will not suffer because the government will prop them up. Is that fair?
Well, no, it's not fair, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I've talked to Secretary Paulson last night. I'm not at liberty to lay out what he told me because he should announce it today. But there's three principles that have to play here for this to work, in my view. One, you have to make sure that you help homeowners and stabilize at the same time financial institutions. Secondly, you got to make sure that you're not bailing out shareholders versus the taxpayers. And the third thing you got to do is make sure that they're still in a position to be able to continue to lend, because there is a need for them to continue to have this elasticity of being able to deal with the market. Now, what I've heard the outline of, I want to wait till I see all the detail. But if it meets those three principles, then I think it has a great chance of succeeding. As I understand it, whatever proposal Secretary Paulson is going to make is a proposal to get us over this hump of instability and uncertainty. It's not an official reorganization. It will be left to the next administration and the Congress to make those judgments.
All investors suffer equally?
They should. They should. We'll see what the plan is.
We want to talk a little bit about both campaigns now describing themselves as an agent of change. Senator Obama has been hard on the case about Washington lobbyists and their influence. Let's share with you and our viewers just some of the ads and the statements that he's made about all of that, if we can.
And suddenly, he's the change agent. He says, I'm going to tell those lobbyists that their days of running Washington are over. Who's he going to tell? Is he going to tell his campaign chairman, who's one of the biggest corporate lobbyists in Washington? Is he going to tell his campaign manager, who was one of the biggest corporate lobbyists in Washington? Who is it that he's going to tell the change is coming? I mean, come on. They must think you're stupid.
Now Senator Obama is out with an ad as well, pretty much the same theme. Let's listen to that if we can.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
And America is listening. Not just Democrats, but Republicans and independents who've lost trust in their government, but want to believe again. I am in this race to tell the corporate lobbyists that their days of setting the agenda in Washington are over. I have done more than any other candidate in this race to take on the lobbyists, and I have won. They have not funded my campaign, and they will not drown out the voices of the American people when I am president.
That is Senator Barack Obama during the primary campaign. He was campaigning in Iowa at the time. In your hometown newspaper this morning, this big headline, Banking on Biden. As a senator, Delaware's financial institutions find themselves banking on Biden. To some, Joe Biden's image makeover as a blue-collar warrior is slightly at odds with a blue blood company that he keeps in the corporate state. Not only is Biden a neighbor to wealthy and powerful company titans and DuPont family members, he's thrown his weight behind issues and legislation that benefited Delaware's big banking interests. This is what the Wall Street Journal had to say about all of this. Obama's choice of Biden as his running mate is coming under fire from Republicans who are painting him as an old-style insider. They cite his long-standing ties to trial lawyers and lobbyists and a taste for pork barrel spending. Biden has collected $6.5 million in campaign contributions from lobbyists, lawyers, and law firms since 1989, according to the Nonpartisan Center for Responsive Politics. Biden's candidacy also is bringing new scrutiny to his family's business dealings, especially those of his son Hunter, who is 38 years old. And that's a reference to your son being hired right out of law school by a big company here in Delaware that is in the credit card business, MBNA. He got about $100,000 a year, as I recall. You received $214,000 in campaign contributions from the company and from its employees. At the same time, you were fighting for a bankruptcy bill that MBNA really wanted to get passed through the Senate, making it much tougher for everyone to file bankruptcy. Senator Obama was opposed to the bill. Among other things, you couldn't, in fact, claim that you had a problem because of big medical bills. You voted against an amendment that would call for a warning on predatory lending. You also called for, you opposed efforts to strengthen the protection of people in bankruptcy. This has been an issue that you've heard about before. Your son was working for the company at the same time. In retrospect, wasn't it inappropriate for someone like you in the middle of all this to have your son collecting money from this big credit card company while you were on the floor protecting its interest?
Absolutely not. My son graduated from Yale Law School. The starting salary in Wall Street was $140,000 a year if he went to lawyer. Options he had. He came home to work for a bank. Surprise, surprise, number one. Number two, this is the second largest employer in the state. All the contributions added up make up less than 2% of the contributions I've received. Number three, I blocked the bank first three bankruptcy bills that the credit card companies wanted. I would not support a bankruptcy bill until they did three things. They put women and children first. Every single social welfare agency relating to alimony and child support supported this bill. 85 senators supported this bill. So try as people might to make this out. You want to know whether or not I am in the pocket of the corporate lobbyist, which it makes it apply, it sounds like it's right here. Ask the people in the industry here how happy they are. How happy the DuPont company is with me and the Hercules Corporation that I would not sign on the asbestos bill. How happy that they are with me. Look, the fact of the matter is that I have had an entire career that no one has ever questioned whether or not anybody has influenced me, number one. No group has ever been involved with contributing more than 2% to my campaign. I'm listed as the 98th or 99th or the 100th poorest guy in the Senate in terms of net worth. I have a 35-year career of being viewed, at least in my state, as being independent. And so you can take individual votes and you can talk about them, but they're totally out of context, Tom.
But the fact is, it was not just the Republicans at your hometown newspaper, consumers groups, a number of other people thought that...
I voted a different way. I respect his vote. The question is, was the glass half full or half empty? Fewer than 10% of all the filers and bankrupts are even affected. I'm the guy that insisted to be a safe harbor, that no one making under $50,000 or $49,000 could even be considered in this. And look, the big issue people have is, what about people who go bankrupt because of their health care bills? That's why we need national health insurance. Are we going to say to every doctor and hospital, look, you get to write off your bill. Get right off your bill because people can't pay. The way to do that, that's a societal responsibility, not the responsibility of individual doctors and assuming they're charging a fair price. And so look, and everybody else voted, not everybody, the vast majority of the members of the Congress voted that way.
So if you get to Washington as president and vice president, given the promises that Senator Obama has made, would you look at situations like you just went through, which has raised some questions, where sons work for big banks that have interests in states?
My son has never spoken to me. I voted for every campaign reform that's existed with regard to lobbyists. I voted for every single solitary proposal to make it tougher. And if you ask around here, try to find how many lobbyists have actually, I probably have spoken to lobbyists, but I don't, it's not a practice I have. If they want to see me, the CEO has to come and see me from the company.
But specifically, what would this administration do about K Street and lobbyists, which has become that you went way too far in bankruptcy protection and cracking down on those people who may not get the relief that they need?
By the way, most people thought differently. Well, how come the social welfare agency supported it, Tom? Are they a bunch of radical corporate whatever? How come 89 or 85 United States senators supported it? Now,